Welcome back to the guide, Exile. After defeating the Unholy Trinity amalgamation, you will sail back to the Oriath docks to bring an end to Kitava's corruption. Head out of the Oriath docks to the cathedral rooftop. Once in the rooftops, head directly to the left to enter the arena of the Act 5 Kitava. However, do not fear, Kitava is not here. You must defeat Kitava's heralds to save Bannon. After he is safe, you will want to exit the arena and head right down the cathedral top, hugging the top wall. At the end, you will find a ladder leading down to the Ravaged Square. As you may have already noticed, many of the zones of Act 10 are identical to Act 5, making navigation much simpler. As we can see here, the Ravaged Square has the same basic layout as it does in Act 5, however there are some minor bridge and road blockages in comparison. You will want to first head to the Torched Courts, marked by the number 1 on the guide map, crossing in the second bridge down on the right side of the square, and immediately heading up and over to the waypoint underneath the ossuary zone. After this, head down and around to reach the Torched Courts. Inside the Torched Courts, you will want to follow the same layout as in Act 5 Courts, moving all the way over to the right, heading down and then back, left, and up to the center to reach the Desecrated Chambers. Again, just like in the Act 5 layout, you'll want to head down, tag the waypoint, and then up, spiraling back inward to reach the arena for another encounter with Avarius Reassembled. This fight with Avarius is actually quite simple, as we do not have to deal with any phases or innocence. A cakewalk from the original fight of Act 5. It is recommended to have the following for this encounter. Avarius will perform the following moves. A basic melee attack, where he strikes you with his staff. A cleave attack, where Avarius will bring back his staff winding up with a red circle beneath him, and then swiping it in a 180-degree arc in front of him. Try to move to his backside during the windup. A triple projectile. Avarius points his staff, firing 3 point-focused red projectiles, or swings his staff towards the target, firing 3 projectiles that are in a line. Charged projectiles. Avarius points his staff towards the target, charging a large red circle in front of him, shortly after releasing a barrage of 5 physical-based projectiles. Raise statue. Once below 80% life, Avarius will raise statues from the edge of the arena to assist him in the fight. They will attack with a slow telegraphed swing that hit hard and apply maim, slowing your movement speed. These statues cannot be damaged, and can be animated simultaneously for between 12 to 60 seconds, before returning to a solid stone. Vertical beams. These beams spawn throughout the entire encounter roughly every 7 seconds, or 3 seconds after one has ended. There are 2 main variations of this attack, with minor variations of each. There will be either spiraling beams around the center of the arena that last for 4 seconds, or a line of beams that cross the arena lasting until they cross the entire arena. These deal physical damage over time. After this encounter, simply teleport back to town and take the waypoint back to the Ravaged Square. You will now want to head to the control blocks marked by the number 2 on the guide map. This zone has the exact same entrance as it did exit in Act 5, all the way to the left of the square through a narrow alleyway marked by a gate. In the control blocks, tag the waypoint right near the entrance, and then continue along the top of the zone to the left, looking for the area where you found the Maz meter in Act 5 control blocks. Instead of grabbing an item here, you will enter the arena to battle Vilenta, whom has now fully transformed from her human form. This encounter is not too difficult, but is lengthy and has some deadly moves if you fail to move out of their pathing. This is a multi-phase fight with add phases for flask charges, and it is recommended to have the following for this encounter. Vilenta will perform the following moves throughout the entire fight. A basic melee attack. A triple bomb. Vilenta throws 3 large liquid bombs that strike the ground, exploding in a large area of effect, and then they quickly return to her, pathing underground. These deal damage and rapid hits in their return path. It is recommended to avoid these return paths as they deal a lot of damage. Lasers. Vilenta begins to channel a red beam between all of the liquid containers in the room, resulting in many overlapping red beams. This move will last for 6 seconds and deals physical damage over time. A mortar. Vilenta moves into the air and rains down a flurry of 12 small bombs upon a target, dealing both physical and fire damage. Once below 90% life, Vilenta can pull power from the containers around the room and transform herself into a larger enraged form, gaining 3 new moves. This form lasts for 15 seconds. While in this form, she can perform a slam, where Vilenta winds up and strikes the ground in front of her. A shockwave, where Vilenta strikes the ground 6 times in a row, creating a linear sunder with many small shockwaves, ending in one medium-sized area explosion. A dash where Vilenta can move away or close a gap. And finally, we have a retreat and bombing runs. At 66% and 33% life, Vilenta will retreat from the arena for 15 seconds and begin spawning adds from the sides. During this time, she will bomb the arena with large overlapping area explosions. You will want to try and avoid these at all costs as they deal heavy damage. After this encounter, teleport back to town. Now we are already at the end of Act 10, and we are going to fight Kitava for the last time. And before we do this, it is advisable to complete your Merciless Labyrinth if you can, for some more power for the fight. Now back in the Ravaged Square, head over to Innocence marked by the number 3 on the guide map, who has opened a pathway to the canals. The canals is a very straightforward and linear zone. Simply follow the sides of the canal, crossing bridges and splitting off through alleyways when the road becomes blocked. At its end, you will come to the feeding trough. Again, just like the canals, the feeding trough is a very linear zone. Simply follow the canal and massive footprints up through the zone. At its end, the camera will pan out and reveal Innocence and Sin beneath the Altar of Hunger entrance, ready to assist you in the battle against Kitava, the Insatiable. This fight is quite difficult, requiring awareness and a fair amount of effective life and defenses. It is recommended to have the following for this encounter. During this fight, try and make use of the whole arena, and try and stand on either side of Kitava to bait his area of effect moves to only cover that small portion, so you can move to the other side where it is free and open. However, there are many moves that will be covering the entire arena, so you will have to be very careful of where you stand. In the end, this is a multi-phase fight with 3 main phases and 3 heart phases. Kitava will perform the following moves in Phase 1. A swipe. Kitava will lay down his forearm across the arena and begin swiping. This will cover roughly 66% of the arena, dealing numerous heavy hits if you were to stand within it. Fire Breath. Kitava rears back, forming an orange flame within his mouth before spewing it at a target location, covering roughly 33% of the arena with fire ground, dealing rapid hits for a short duration. Devouring Darkness. Kitava will reach into the darkness and pull out projectiles that fire in random directions. These projectiles leave physical degeneration trails. X-Blast. Kitava will grasp the air and summon 4 small circular marks that explode. This will occur a total of 3 times, with each wave converging to a center point where a final larger mark will explode, dealing substantial damage. As soon as you see this, try and move out of it. Single Beam Sweep. Kitava aims his head at the ground, firing a red beam from it, pathing over a short area. This move is easy to avoid if you simply move up or down from its original cast. At 75% life, the fight will move into the first heart phase, where you must bring Kitava's exposed heart to 75% life as well. During this phase, 2 unique adds will spawn, a Champion of the Feast and Shaman of the Feast. These, much like their Act 5 counterparts, deal lots of damage and should be taken down quickly if you are unable to nuke the heart down. They deal mostly physical attack damage, so physical mitigations and evasion and/or blind work very well against them. After the heart is brought down, Kitava will take hold of Sin and continue performing the same moves as before until you bring him to 60% life. This will trigger Phase 2, where he will release Sin and perform the following new moves on top of the previous ones. X-Nuke. Kitava brings both his hands into his chest as they begin to glow orange, while 6 large orange X markers form on the ground of the arena. Shortly after, these will explode. Avoid standing in any of these marked spots at all costs. Laser Orb. Kitava reaches out and places a red orb in the air above the arena. This orb will strike the ground beneath and around it randomly with lasers for 15 seconds, dealing physical and fire damage. Try and stay a fair distance away from this if possible. A Double Beam Swipe. Just like the Single Beam Swipe, Kitava aims his head at the ground, firing a red beam from it, pathing over a short area before pathing back, above or below, in the opposite direction just after. At 40% life, Kitava will reveal his heart again, spawning a Champion and Shaman of the Feast. Ensure to take these down and bring the heart to 50% life. Kitava will return once again, taking hold of Innocence this time, and begin performing the same moves as before. Once he is brought to 20% life, he will release Innocence and begin Phase 3, where he will perform 1 new move on top of all of the previous. Ultimate Fire Breath. This breath is just like the previous Fire Breath, however it nearly covers the entire arena. This move is denoted by a larger flame surge in his wind-up along with a deeper sound effect. To avoid its damage, simply stand on the opposite edge of the arena from where he began his cast, where there is no affected area. After Kitava's health has been drained, he will release his heart once more. This time a Champion and 2 Shamans of the Feast will be spawned. Quickly take down the heart to 0% and you will finally have defeated Kitava and ended his corruption, taking a final negative 30% to elemental resistances and allowing you to get to the ever-treasured endgame mapping system. Well, that's all of the acts. Well, for now. I hope that this series has helped you get through leveling in Path of Exile in the smoothest, most straightforward way possible. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, Exile.